Welcome to the Behind the Seal podcast, your guide to the world of gaskets and sealing solutions as we highlight Durlon's best. My name is Ria Lysandra, and today, in celebration of Engineers Week, I have with me Teck Ry Looi, application engineer at Triangle Fluid Controls. Welcome, Teck.
Hi, Rhea. Thank you for inviting me to be the guest
Thank,
on this episode of the podcast.
yeah, thank you for coming on. I'm excited to be featuring you in celebration of Engineers Week. And today we have quite a few questions about your career, your choices into getting into this field, and a little bit more about what you see in the future of your industry. So let's get started with our first question, which is what inspired you to become an engineer, and how did you end up working with sealing systems?
Well, I actually got into the related field pretty early when I was in high school, around 16 or 17 years old. I spent most of my school holidays working at a plastic injection molding company, which they focus on repairing and design work.
Mm.
So I started there as an apprentice and did a bit of everything, such as basic milling, lathe work, CNC setup, and a little bit of 3D design work. So at the very beginning, I wouldn't say I loved engineering right away. It was more of that the working environment was fun because I had friends and my cousin, they were working there. So it didn't feel like work at all during that time. It's more like chit-chatting, spending time with friends, where to go after work. And coincidentally, over time, I started to develop the curiosity about how things. I started to get serious, and want to know how things were made and how designs turn into real parts. That's when it clicked and hugely influenced my future decision to study mechanical engineering during that time. So when it reached the time to choose university and what to study, so my first choice was mechanical engineering. And if I would say if I did not have this particular experience, I think most likely I'll I'll be ended up in computer science, which during that time, most of my friends who decided to do computer science, I will just follow their footsteps. So in terms of the ceiling system, this path was more of an unexpected event than planned, I would say. Early in my career, I worked mainly as a project engineer on mold design, polymer composites, and product design. So when my previous company was sold and I was laid off, around that time, I actually received two job offers within the same week. One was a project engineer role in the molding industry, which felt very familiar. The other was an interview from my current manager, Alireza, asking if I would be interested in an application engineer role. So I looked into the company website quickly, and also Alireza shared a lot about the company during the interview. And I quickly realized that this company is in the fluid and sealing sector, where they work with valves, gaskets, and sealing solutions. That immediately caught my attention because back in the university time, the two courses that I enjoyed the most and I still enjoy are polymer composites, and the next one is fluid mechanics, which is related to what I'm doing now. So after weighing a few options, a few things such as choosing the right company, family considerations, and the chance to work more closely with fluid applications, I decided to join Durlon, and it turned out to be a really good fit to me. Before that, most of my work was focused on polymer composites and mechanical design. So nothing much to do with fluids. So moving into this field felt like a pretty big change for me personally, and it's a big challenge, I would say.
Yeah, it's definitely a big change, and but not in terms of what you were doing and what the skills you were applying, but in terms of focus.
Yeah.
I want to ask too, have you ever thought about it before, like learning about TFC, Durlon, and the global companies? Have you ever thought about the sealing systems at all in your line of work or the career that you wanted to take?
Um, mm, Not much about sealing system previously. So my background is in composite manufacturing and also mold design. So we occasionally we work with like O-rings, like some gaskets. Some projects
Mhm.
require gasket sourcing. So that's pretty much about it. So nothing intense and nothing serious about the sealing system, how we navigate through all the sealing parts, sealing system, not much.
Yeah. So like a new environment to take on for sure, right?
It's a whole new environment, I would say.
Yeah. That kind of leads into my next question as you're like adjusting into that field. What are the biggest technical challenges you face when specifying or designing gaskets or sealing solutions?
One of the biggest technical challenge in the sealing industry, I would say, is fully understanding and applying the gasket design principles and sealing standards correctly. Because unlike many mechanical components, which I had quite some experience already in the past, sealing performance depends on multiple interacting variables all the time. For example, a certain gasket material will perform well in certain temperature range or pressure range. Also, how the media will have effects on the sealing performance of the gasket. Not to mention about the flange condition and the flange assembly. Like all this come into the equation when we are choosing the right gasket material for our based on our application details. It's I would say it's more like the combination of chemistry and mechanical engineering, in my opinion. And another big challenge is that a large portion of the engineering work in my current role happens in an office environment rather than directly on site. So previously, my previous roles, I had frequent hands-on exposure. It's like all the time. I would say almost every day I will be seeing the tooling, the molds that I am going to make or I made, or I will be at the manufacturing floor, which makes problem solving more direct, and as it is easier to analyze and collect information on the first hand. Because right now I'm in office environment, everything is just like because we have to support customers across different regions and internationally, right? So we often don't have the luxury of visiting the site. Instead, I would say we rely on the information provided by the customers. So such as the drawings, photos, and emails communication. That makes it a little bit more challenging and also like makes it more critical for us to ask the right technical questions and to validate the assumptions and interpret incomplete data because most of the customer they just give you whatever they have, but sometimes there are some information that is critical that is missing, so we have to be able to find out what I'm missing in the whole context of the issue. And the challenge, therefore, is about balancing between engineering calculations and the real world constraints while making sound decision based on limited first-hand information most of the time.
Sounds like there's a lot of puzzle piecing. Like you need to figure out
Exactly.
material, compatibility, figure out what maybe they're not telling you that they're not aware of. So
Yep.
quite a lot of critical thinking and investigating in that sense.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's
Mhm.
our job to like find out what are the missing pieces of puzzle and then tell them like, can we get this information? Like it's all about communication all the time with the customers.
And is that something that you enjoy to do to like dig in and figure out what's needed of each request that comes to you?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So I enjoy the interaction with the customer because I would say our customer they come from different background, right? So because every single industry they might require a gasket at some point of their operations. They need to replace it or whatever. So I get the exposure and the opportunity to meet engineers and customers from different backgrounds. So that really helps me to widen my knowledge and my exposure to different industries. So that's what I feel I enjoy the most in this particular role right now.
That's great. Yeah, especially with it being a global company. I feel like there's so many places that we end up being involved with, and it's great to see the people there as well.
Mhm.
That kind of leads into the excitement of your role and things that have been moving for you professionally. It leads into the next question, which is more towards your thoughts on the industry and what can be done. How do you think companies can support the next generation of engineers entering the industrial space?
I would say, in my opinion, there are two critical factors, I would say. So the first one would be empowering the new engineers through leadership, and also the next one would be continuous professional development. So because first thing that young engineers, they need the opportunity to express, lead, and some room to make control mistakes and learn from them, because that requires a strong leadership with mentors who are willing to guide, to challenge the assumptions that we make, and encourage uh, open communication instead of just providing the answers that we have to follow. For example, in my experience at Triangle Fluid Controls, like having an open and friendly work environment makes a big difference, because people across the company, I feel they are willing to listen, to share ideas, and then to explain the issues and collaborate, which allows the problem to be identified and resolved much faster. I would say this company provides a safe space for me to practice whatever I learned from the school and whatever I learned from the school and my previous roles. So that's a big plus, I would say. The second thing I would say is the continuous professional development is essential in my opinion, because engineering doesn't just stop at graduation. So technology nowadays, they evolve quickly, so it's not easy to keep up with the latest advancement. And for example, exposure to cross-functional collaboration, site experience, and technical trainings really helps engineers like me to build confidence, knowledge, and also the judgment over time. So in my personal experience, when companies emphasize in both mentorship and learning, I feel like the engineers are more engaged and willing to contribute more, and which ultimately, I think it will be a big value added for the organization or even the company.
For sure. I think that's something that is very crucial to help their development, as in an industry that's constantly changing as well. There's so
Yeah.
much that are constantly being adapted to, which leads into my next question about emerging technologies. What
Okay.
do you think are the emerging technologies or skills that engineers are going to be needing in the next decade?
The most important skill that comes into my mind right now is communication will be the number one thing for engineers, because as an engineer, um, our job doesn't stop just at doing the calculation, verifying information. It goes beyond that. So it's our job to be able to communicate effectively, either with the management or coworkers or even the customers. That's how we present or show our value, by helping others to understand the problems and work towards solutions. And it is just as important to educate the people. So, because as an engineer, we are exposed to a lot of technical concepts that others might not be familiar with. And it is our responsibility to explain those ideas in a clear and practical way. By doing that, we can help to bring the awareness to the issues and also the phenomena that others might not even realize exist. In terms of the technologies, from my own perspective, I think computer aided engineering, CAE, such as like technology like finite element analysis and computational fluid dynamics, CFD, will be continue to be more important as the technology advances, right? So it's not just for analysis, but for presentation purpose, because math and calculations are the language of engineering. But to present those results or the findings to the audience from different background can be very challenging sometimes. So using tools like using CAE and visualization tools can be a game changer for us, because it can turn complex calculation into clear visuals or animations, makes it much easier to explain the concepts to customers and or the stakeholders, which in fact help aligns the expectations and make informed decisions.
Those are
Yeah,
all things to look forward to,
yeah.
and skills and technologies that are developing and keep an eye out on. As a little kind of personality question, digging more into your experiences as you've entered engineering,
Mhm.
what's a moment in your career that made you think, yeah, I chose the right field? if you have any?
I don't think there's a moment like this so far because as I mentioned, I started in the related field pretty early during my high school
Hmm.
time. I spent most of my school holidays working in the factory, in the company who design molds, right? So from there, I built up the interest on mechanical assembly, mechanical parts. So that actually has a huge influence on my decision later on in my career. A lot of my friends, they were kind of lost when they graduated from high school. So a lot of them, they just got into computer science and some of them just drop out halfway. But for me, I was like, because of my previous experience that really gave me the idea of what I really want to pursue in. So I don't really feel like nothing really like makes me like, oh, this is the right decision I have made. It's just that I'm just doing what I'm enjoying the most. That's what I can say.
Yeah, that's also a very valid thing to do. I think it's rare that people find something so early that they actually enjoy doing.
Yeah, I would say I'm I would say I'm a lucky one because I had that previous experience that helped me to prevent of getting into the wrong field or doing something that later realize that I'm doing something that I don't like it at all. So that's a really big help.
Absolutely. And all those exposures too, I think when you're young and trying to find what you want to do, all add up and help steer you in that right direction.
Oh yeah,
All right, great. Well, were there any final remarks you had as we wrap up? Maybe advice you have for anyone looking in entering that space?
I would say try to do some research online before you wanted to get into engineering field because it's not something that everybody would like to do it because it takes a lot of hard work and determination in the university. Like
Mm,
it's a pretty hectic lifestyle, I would say, because all the time it's just studying, memorizing formulas, memorizing the concepts. So it's definitely not something, I would say, not something easy, but it's not something is unachievable because as long as you put in the hard work and the effort and the time there, invest your time there, then it will definitely work out. And I think it's worth the time and the effort that I spend in this field because it gives me the opportunity to see the latest technology, what are the advancement, and keep up to date with latest technology, I would say.
that's exciting. Well,
Yeah.
I'm glad that you found your space in the field that you enjoy and you found a space here with the Durlon team. Yeah, it's great to have you. And thank you for taking the time to speak with me. And stay tuned for the next episode of Behind the Seal.
All right. Thank you,
All
Ria.
right. Thank you.